Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So I have felt like I've been dying. I'm getting over a sickness right now, but I wanted to throw out this tier list before we got into it, before Etheria restart officially launched on June 5th. So I'm excited, you're excited. Let's make a tier list. Now this is going to be a tier list primarily for PvE content, okay? So don't take this into consideration for anything PvP related. Of course, some, if not most of the units are going to be very relevant in PvP, but this is not a standard focused on that. I'm going to put some of the SRs, but mainly going to be going over the SSRs and maybe some R units if we get around to it, but let's get into it. So, obviously, we have Biotin. Oh, and before I even say it, I don't know everybody's name. I know their move sets, so I know what they do and everything, but learning names have never been my strong suit. So I'm gonna try and remember everybody's name as much as possible. So, like I said, Biotin. She is a fantastic character. She is definitely gonna get play in PvE and PvP. It really just depends on if you can get her at the beginning, because this is going off of the beginning to where we don't have a lot of characters. I believe she's going to be an S tier unit because she had the pull forward, she has resurrections just in case someone on the team goes down, and she has crit damage increase. I feel like she is going to be a fantastic unit and buffer if you can pull her on your account. If not, there are plenty of other units, but I feel like personally Biotin is going to be a great unit to have at all times, especially in things like Karamatan. But let's move on to the next one. Bjorny, whatever you want to call him, I think he's a little overrated, personally. I feel like he has a lot more value in PvP than he does in PvE, just because he doesn't scale too hard because he can't crit. He is a flat damage. He does a lot for that flat damage, but I feel like he's going to be a B tier. He's definitely not going to be someone you shoot for. I would re-roll for him because if you're thinking about having him for Doki Doki, he does fall off at the later stages. Now, he will do good at the beginning stages, don't get me wrong. So if you do pull up, you can use them to try and help propel you a little bit in Doki Doki. But I definitely would not try and go for him as a unit. It's just kind of, if you have them, you have them. This lady's name, I forgot her name like I was telling you, but I know she is not good in either PvE or PvP at the moment. But definitely not a character. I would almost consider, if you don't have the top op bonus, I would almost consider re-rolling her if you got her as your first SSR. What next? Okay. So like I did say, there are going to be some SRs in here that I think are warranted to be in a tier list SSR. First one is going to be Chiaki the Echo. She is going to be good if you don't have anyone else to help propel your team. If you don't have things like Doki Doki, Lily, stuff like that, obviously those are going to be some LB units that not everybody's going to have. So she is going to be a good beginner advancement unit, right? She's just going to pull everyone forward. I can talk sometimes. And once you do that, everybody else can take their turn. So you just got to build her with a bunch of speed and get going. Obviously, she's not going to be good as an A or S tier unit, but she is going to be a good stepping stone to propel your account. Diane is also going to be a great unit. I'm actually going to put her a little bit higher just because the amount of debuffs she can do is still are very warranted even in later stages of like Inferno and everything like that. Very good unit for everything except for Doki Doki, obviously. Water beats fire. She's a fire unit. Now, Dighton, I think is how you pronounce it. He is actually, I think, an S tier unit. Now, he is an SR unit, but he does immense damage. Him and Victor do crazy amounts of damage together, let alone by themselves. Very underrated unit. But a lot of people are talking about him now. So I should say was previously an underrated unit. Now, just because he's an SR does not mean he does not do damage comparable to an SSR. Arguably, he does better damage than some of the other SSR. So, very good character. If you get him, power him up immediately because he has the dark element. I think it's called Disorder. So he's good in every mode. So he doesn't have an element disadvantage. So use him all the time if you can help it. Now, Doki Doki, obviously, it's going to be an LD unit. So she is going to be in the top. It's just how it is. Now, how I'm ordering them is not exactly how, relevancy. It's just the tiers. I don't have them in any specific order. The Doki Doki she has cleanses, action advancement, cooldown reduction. She really has it all in her kit. So, very great unit. I'm personally going to be re-rolling my account until I get either Doki Doki or Lily, just because having one of those characters will really help your account in the long run, because they are so powerful in their supportive ability. Now, Vengus, he's a good unit, but very situational. Just for the fact that he's only good, he's I would say an A tier unit if you have Shadow Sonya. So if Shadow Sonya is going to be an S tier unit, if you have the units to back her up, like Vengus, Obel, these units together, clear in game, even at the highest difficulty, because you got to cleanse on him, follow up dots on them, expend the dots. Really, just the whole combo right there. Separately, without him, I would say Shadow Sonya is a C tier. He's a C tier. And Obel is A-B, something like that. I would say high B, low A by himself. Actually, no. I think Obel is a fantastic character. Now, he's got stuns, he's got dots, he's got dispels. He really does have a great kit. But all three of these together, I feel like as a combination package, they're an S tier team together because of how good dots are currently. Now, Freya. She's going to be our first limited banner unit. Now, a lot of people are talking about how she's possibly trapped. Now, they did lower the what am I looking for? The pity from 100 to 80, right? But still, I would suggest, because she is going to start off in the standard banner as well, I would suggest, if you're going to pull on her banner, I would pull on her to get Diane, Chiaki, Kraken, I think, is also on the banner too. I would pull on it to just get one or whatever units you want out of that, because it has a high chance, guaranteed though. I wouldn't spend too much, because if you get her on the limited banner, you waste those 50 to 80 pulls, whatever. Maybe you get her on 110 pull, I don't know. Whatever pulls you waste on that, it's gonna feel really bad if you then go to the standard banner and you get another copy of her, because multiple copies in the beginning of the game are not going to help you as much as they would in the end game. At the beginning of the game, you want build variety. You want to be able to build different teams for later in game in the Ethernet rally and things like that. You want to have variety. You do not want to put all your eggs in one basket. So I feel like she's a bit of a trap. I think actually she is a bit of a B unit, just because she does do good things. Although she has a half-heart cleanse, she does have an attack boost, she has turn meter boost, she has turn meter decrease on the enemy team. She does do good stuff. Actually, I'd put her in A tier, but I would put her in a low A tier. Like, arguably, I think Diane or Dinah has more relevancy and usability than Freya does currently. So I wouldn't go out of your way. Get her, just be happy if you get her on the standard banner. Otherwise, I'll go on her limited banner for the SRs that are on the banner for a higher chance to get it. Alright. So Heinrich, gonna be great. If not only for how good he is at stripping the bosses, because as you get further down in Terra Maton and Aurora, you're gonna have to strip the boss immediately to be able to put any dots on, because they start off with an immunity. So you want to have a good stripper. So if you get Heinrich and you have him at the beginning of the game, that will set you up for late game. He also increases damage in various other ways, but the main thing you want to focus on is that stripping. Without that stripping, he is a good unit, but I feel like it drops down to like a low A tier. But because of that stripping, it also helps in PvP, but like I said, focus on PvE right now. He's going to be great in the later stage. Let's see. Who do we have next? Hellkid. Definitely high A tier. I wouldn't say S tier, but definitely high, right under S tier. He is a fantastic unit. He does a crap ton of damage because, I don't know if you know this, his shields scale off his attack. So he is a defensive yet an offensive unit. He also has attack down to help even more with survivability, and while he has his shield up, you have immunity. He does a lot for your team. A lot of people are talking about having the Selector and pull him just because of how good he is at keeping your team alive. So we'll talk later about the Selectors. This is going to be kind of a two-part video. I didn't want to make multiple videos to try and farm views or whatever. I'm just going to put it all in one video just to consolidate everything. Definitely high A tier for Hellkid. Now, Poyon wasn't in this one, but for PvE purposes, there's not really anything that she does better than anyone else at the moment. She's going to be decent, but her whole thing is revival denial, and that's really only useful in PvP at the moment. So unfortunately, going to be a C tier. Now, if there later on comes to a play of where enemies revive randomly or something like that, then she'll move up in rank. But at the moment, nothing really like that. You just kind of want to do AoE damage or severe single target damage, which she doesn't really do. But I don't know if they're reworking her or whatever. We'll have to see. But at the moment, from everything I've seen of her, going to be a C tier at the moment. Okay. The Revelry Revere, this one is going to be a tier. It's going to be a lower A tier, but it's going to be A tier. Specifically because of how good she is in Doki Doki. So many top teams are using her because if she has the AoE leap on her ultimate, it is just too good. Especially when you combination her with other units like Mocha. She is used in almost every top tier Doki Doki team because of how good she is. Now, like I said, do not sleep on the SR units here. They are fantastic. Now, Chloros. Out of everyone's design, honestly, I like Chloros the most. But he is not that good. He has the same issue that Hoyan has, where he's mainly a PvP unit. But he does have his place in Terra Maton. He is a very good Terra Maton unit. Just focus on the boss, blast him, blow him up. Now, I would say he would be top tier for that because he is a single target damage dealer and everything like that. But unfortunately, Fighting and Victor just outperform him entirely. Those two just do so much damage. So he is a good unit for late game Terra Maton. If you pull him, I wouldn't try to pull him or reroll for him or use your standard on him. But if you have him, yeah, you could use him for Terra Maton at some point. But mainly a PvP unit like Hoya. So, plots. I think she is a severely underrated. Now, she has one of the highest speeds in the game at 118. So she can easily outspeed people, especially enemy units. She has so many debuffs, it is ridiculous. She has defense down, speed down, attack down, and it just keeps stacking until it turns into hack in, and it is just crazy. She has turn meter reduction. Honestly, crazy. I think she is a fantastic unit. People need to stop sleeping on her. Definitely S tier for me. She just provides so much to the team, and with how fast she is, she can easily outspeed everybody and shoot your team ahead. Now, I will say, if you have Kloss and Freya, they really do work well in tandem because of how many debuffs Kloss puts on the enemy team, as well as she herself takes the enemy back. And with all those debuffs put on, with Freya's passive, it shoots them back even further. So if you do get those two, they are a great combo for Doki, I would say. If you have those two with Reverie and Romoko, I feel like that team slaps. Personally. Now, who do we have next? Kraken. Kraken. Is he an F tier unit? He does have immense CC potential. And we have learned recently, with everybody discovering more and more things about Etheria Restart, is that effect accuracy does affect the base accuracy of the skill. So if it says 60% like on Kraken for the skill, you can actually raise that to a near 100% accuracy with effect accuracy. So it is effective. It's not I think it's not multiplicative. I think it's slightly additive. I don't know. I'm not gonna assume to know. I'm retarded. Keep that in mind. But if he is an S tier, he'd definitely be the lowest S tier because I feel like the other ones just provide so much more. But he is a fantastic unit, SR unit, so you're pretty certain to get him. If you don't get him, severely unlucky, and I wish for you. Leon is a good unit. I would put her in a high B tier because you're forced to build her. So what I would do with her, because later on they're gonna ask you to put the golden lattice and use it on her. If they have the event still where you can reset your character, go up to that point, invest all they want you to in this character. Invest all you want into this character, and then reset her, right? So you get that golden lattice back, and then reinvest the base stat point up until you need lattice again. So you can have those lattice for other characters, like if you want Kloss to have a lower CD, or Hellkid to have a lower CD, or something like that. But after that, people have said that you won't need Leon specific investment after that point. So if you're gonna reset her after that mission, so you don't have to do it full time. But she is a very decent unit to start off with. It's definitely a Terramaton specific unit, but good unit, just not up with the grades. Now, Lily, no doubt, I'm actually just for shits and giggles. She is an amazing unit. She entices other units to play in a different way, and with her cooldown reduction, with the extra basic attacks, with the enemy cooldown increase, just an amazing unit. I hope in my rerolls that I get Lily over Doki Doki, but I will settle for Doki Doki. But Lily is just too good. Too good. Now, Lilith. B tier. She is a good unit, but she is definitely more of a PvP unit. She can be used in some instances of PvE, but definitely more of a PvP unit with the stuns and the slows and everything like Not much else to say about it. Just a very good unit. Just mainly for PvP. Now, Ling Lo, get her for free on the 7th day. So hopefully, you don't get her in your pools before then. Now, if you do, it is what it is. But you prefer to use other characters like Sonya and regular Chiaki, stuff like that, to hold you over until that 7th day. But definitely very good unit, possibly the best unit in the game to date. She purifies and everything like that, and a lot of healing in her kit, especially with her auto. Heals 2 enemies, or what am I saying? 2 allies. You know what I mean. Now Marvel. Marvel is a fantastic unit. Oof. Actually, I did say it isn't in an exact order, but just for my purposes, I want him to be higher. Probably the best SR unit you can get. A lot of people talk him getting nerfed because of, oh, he could just be super fast and then slow everybody down in PvE and PvP, and he's just too good, yada yada yada. Well, when people get bulwark, that's not going to matter. So he is going to be good for the beginning part, but until people start farming bulwark, he's going to dominate a bit, but as bulwark comes out and people can just outspeed him or just tank it and deal with him, he's not really going to be a big deal. It's going to level out. He's going to be cranked down to normal like everybody else. I think people are just overhyping him a bit. He is a fantastic unit for PvE, but people are having issues thinking about him in PvP, and that's where it's probably coming from. Yeah, he fantastic unit though. Get him, build him immediately. He's gonna help with everything. Now, it's Messiah. Great PvP unit. I don't think he's great at PvE. The big thing about him is he ignores defense, but with the numbers not really going high as you want it to, the enemy health skyrocket in the late section. The HP inflation is crazy, but Messiah doesn't scale that well until the late game. Like I said, more of a PvP unit. You still good if you get him early, but late game you want to transition them out and use a different unit. Now, number 44. Oh, I skipped over Mia. Good unit of... not as good as Ling Lo, but she does have a cleanse. Good healer unit if you get her before Ling Lo. And honestly, if you get her before and you start investing into her, just use her. No sense in investing in her and then not using Ling Lo. Good, she's good. Just not as good if you do. You know what I mean. Okay. Good unit. Bottom A. Number 44 or 41. Number. She's a good unit. Very good if you as a starting healer. Because you're about to get her and max her out very soon into the game. Because I believe you get about 500-ish pools depending on how far you get into the game. You get a lot. Several hundred. So she's a good unit, got action advancement, healing, wounds. Good unit to deal with. Now, Romoka. Fantastic unit for Doki Doki. If you get her, you essentially have your team set, right? So you're going to have her, you're going to have Reverie, and then just other units to buff Romoka. Essentially is what you want to do. So, you want Reverie to go first, unit buff Romoka, and then Romoka blow things up. I believe one of the best in-game strategies is once you get to the point of farming Codex and Magic, you essentially just want characters like him, Marvel, Reverie, and Romoka as your core to slow the enemies down, CC them, because in the later stages you need to CC them, otherwise they take like 90% less damage, and then blow them up with Romoka. And then once you do that, you're pretty much set as a core of your Doki Doki team. Rahu, not good for PvE. Not good at all. He is a fantastic bruiser for PvE content, just not that good for PvE. Who do we have next? Rose, something like that. A lot of debate about her. She essentially, what the consensus goes down to is bad early game DPS unit, but extremely good late game DPS. So if we're just making this tier list off of the early game units, she's going to be a good unit later. So if you get her, you can build her later because she focuses around a lot of critting. So if you can crit a lot, build a team around critting, she's going to demolish them. But in the early game, you're going to kind of want to focus on clearing things rather than building a whole team around one specific unit just to make them work. So unfortunately, she's going to be set in B tier with everybody else who's just kind of niche. But yeah, unfortunately, it's how it is. Please don't bite my head off about it. Sanya is also going to be a great healer. She's going to be your temporary healer and one of your off healers in PvP. So you want to build at least like 3 different healers PvP just so you have backups. But she's going to be your temporary healer until you get Linglo on the 7th day. The next one is Tiamat. Tiamat is a fantastic unit. I would say put her in A tier. She's a jack of all trades, especially at the beginning of the game. She shields, she heals, she taunts, does good AoE damage. She is going to push you through a lot of the early game content. You've heard it everywhere. She is going to be a beast in the early game in both PvE and PvP. But late game kind of falls off because, you know, jack of all trades, master of none type shit. But she is definitely going to be really good early game. And we'll talk about the Selector later. Tsukiyomi, I believe her name is. She's good. Early game, though, I feel like there's just better units. She is a good replacement if you have her, because she does have an active advancement. If you have her instead of like Lily, Viotin, or Doki, she is a good replacement. I just don't think I would prefer her over any of those 3 units. Any of these 3 units. Because they essentially, in different ways, do the same thing of action advancement and getting your team going. She does that. I just, out of the 4 of them, I prefer her the least. Personally. Veronica, very niche, more of a PvP, again, more of a PvP unit. So she does have some place. You can make her work in some areas as a dispeller, but better unit for that. Again, more of a PvP unit. Not really too useful in the PvE environment. Now, Victor and Dighton, it's single target fights like Terramaton, they demolish like crazy. 20-second clears between the 2 of them. If you have both of them on your team with a Biotin, oof, done. That's all you need. Just those 3 units and a strip. But those 2 are a powerhouse, and I cannot believe they are some of the fastest clears in Terramaton as 2 SR units. Better than all the other SSR units. Really crazy. Now, I'm going to throw Viper in here, but I am just going to say he is definitely a PvP unit, but he is a very good PvP unit. You can use him in PvE environments, but I would really only use him for like if you have him instead of Heinrich or someone else who can dispel. Besides that, he really only dispels. I'll actually put him up in B tier. he's good. He's good at dispelling. So I would like him. Obviously, you want Heinrich over him, but he's a good Heinrich substitute. And I can't pronounce her name, but she is also a good unit. I'm gonna actually put her in A tier, just because I feel like she has a very good spot in Aurora. She is going to be a fantastic unit, and really nothing to say about that. As she cleanses cleanses buffs off the enemy unit, she gets stronger and stronger, and she ramps up really fast. So there are probably better units, like in S tier, but she is a good unit to have if you pull her and you need her for something like that. So this is my tier list for the characters I decided were worth the tier list. Now there are characters that people are going to be talking about, like Gray, Rin. I don't think they're really warranted right now. This is also a very good unit, but we start off with Gray. I'm not going to put him on a tier list. If you have him, if you need him, he is a good crit rate buffer, defense breaker, very good unit. Other units do it better, like Dinah, but he is a good beginner unit. Okay, so now that we have the tier list done, let's talk about the Selector and how you should use your pools at the beginning of the game. So, what I have come up with, and what other people agree about, is you want to wait on using the Selector. Because you're going to get hundreds of pools, it's going to go by fast, you're going to get a lot of characters really fast. So, what you want to do is pull on the standard, get your first SSR. Depending on what that SSR is, you want to try and configure what you want to do around the team, right? So, everybody starts out with Liam, right? Now, let's say your first SSR is Claws. So you have a great debuffer that can work in both Terramaton and Doki Doki. Cool. Now, that means you need to focus on a second DPS. But for right now, focus more on Terramaton because you already have the DPS for it. Now, go through, get a couple more SSRs, and after, I would say, about a week, some people are talking about waiting a little bit longer, about 2 weeks, but I would say wait about a week, see how your roster fills up. Because as far as I know, unless they're going to change it on release, there is not a timer on the Selector banner. So you can save it, see what you don't have, and say, hey, I went through all this, I have these 3 supports for whatever reason, and my only DPS right now is Leon, and I need to go further in Doki Doki so I can get some good speed sets and really progress my account. But I need a second DPS. Okay, well, we can look at it, right? So there is, for early, you can use Tiamat. Or if you really want to go in and try and shoot for a really good late game character, specifically for Doki Doki, you have Real Mocha. It's things like that. You want to try and round out your account to see what you do and don't need. I personally wait about a week, see what you got, deal with everything until then. If you, like I said, if you only have her as a main DPS, just push Terramaton as hard as you can. He does still give good items. It's mainly for DPS, while Doki Doki is more of a supportive lineup. But just push where you can. Don't worry about it in the first week. Push where you can. Everything else is going to level out eventually. And I would say, like I said, pull on the standard unit. Unless you severely want Freya, don't pull on Freya's banner. She starts off in the standard banner anyway. Only pull on the Freya banner. Personally, I would only pull on the Freya banner if you need the characters that are supposed to be on it, like Dinah and Kraken and Chiaki the Echo. That would be the only thing, and I would only pull on it a couple times because you're eventually going to get these SR characters. It's just a raid up on that banner. I pulled on Freya in the beta, used her for a bit, and eventually I stopped using her because I had different teams I wanted to try out. But just pull on the standard banner. Everything gets put in the standard banner. You want to try and expand your roster as much as possible. You can't just pull on the limited banner because it's 100% guarantee whenever you get that SSR, it's going to be Freya. So you can't be like, oh, I'm going to lose 50-50 or whatever. No. So just pull on the standard banner. It's going to save you a lot of headache. Like I said, if you pull on Freya's banner, get Freya, and you pull on the standard and you get her again, it's not going to feel too good at the beginning of the game. So just don't worry about it. Freya is interchangeable with a lot of other supports. It is not necessary that you have the unit. If she's a good unit, don't go out of your way for her. That's all I gotta say. But yeah, wait about a week, use your selector then, and see what you need to round out the account. You do not need to feel pressured to use it immediately. You want to try and have a well-rounded account to do all three of the gear dungeon: Terramaton, Doki Doki, and Aurora. So that's going to be my tier list and my advice for pulling. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate dealing with me. Have a good one. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.